Hey guys, Marissa here and welcome back to the channel. Today I wanted to talk you through my 2020 bullet journal setup. Now I have not done one of these journaling videos since I set up my 2018 bullet journal. So in this video I actually kind of jump back and forth between my 2019 journal and my 2020 journal just a bit so I can show you guys a little bit of a comparison, but hopefully it's not too difficult for you guys to follow. I also want to mention that I filmed this a few weeks ago right after I finished setting up the journal, so I had not really filled much in yet, but the overall spread shells were there. So I thought it would be fun for you guys to kind of see the blank canvas, so to speak. And then I'm planning on actually doing monthly check-ins to show you how I used say January and then how I'm setting up February and so on and so forth. So without further ado, let's go ahead and get on into the flat lay. Okay, so today we're going to be going through my 2020 bullet journal, and I am very excited about this video because it's a little different than any journal flip through I've ever done before, in that rather than showing you a journal that I have already started using, this is the shell. I have set up all of my kind of general spreads. I have set up my January monthly spreads, but I have not actually started filling anything in or using it yet. Before we get into my actual 2020 journal though, I quickly wanted to talk about the differences between what I did in 2019 and what I'm going to be doing in 2020. Now in 2019, I didn't actually show you guys a bullet journal setup video at all. At the beginning, I did try to be slightly creative, shall I say. You know, I did a few quote pages, I did a little bit of decoration, I even did some fangirl related doodling, you know, Shiro is life. But for the vast majority of the year, I didn't do any of this. It was just very, very utilitarian. It's basically these weekly summary pages followed by rolling dailies. And that was pretty much most of the year, was just that over and over and over. And so it's not a very exciting journal to go through, but it was insanely practical, and I still found that it was really helpful for me to keep track of all of my stuff in here. I just don't remember things if I don't write them down. I like to have some place where I have both appointments, dates, notes, all of that. I like it to have it in one journal, so it's still something that I do not regret keeping in 2019, even if it wasn't the most aesthetically pleasing. However, one thing I really want to do in 2020 is just get back to a more balanced lifestyle in general. So I want to work, yes, but I also want to make time for things that make me happy. And one of those things that makes me happy is creating things. So I want to use my bullet journal as kind of a space where I can not only organize my life, but where I can also express myself as well. So I'm going to be kind of marrying a slightly more doodly, decorative style with the productivity that I found really helped me last year. Let's talk about materials really quickly. So this is a Leuchtturm 1917 journal. This is my fourth Leuchtturm. However, I am not 100% convinced that this is a legit Leuchtturm, and if it is, the quality has significantly gone down. A couple of things I want to show you guys. So in this black one that I got just last year, this is what the table of contents looks like. And then here, this is what the table of contents looks like. They have taken out a whole page. It's a little different here. They no longer have the boxing around it, so I'm just not sure if this is real or not. The other thing is, you can already see here, the ghosting is significant. Again, let's go back to Shiro. In 2019, I, again, didn't do a whole lot of decoration, so I can't directly compare whether or not the paper is exactly the same. This does feel a little thinner than my 2019 journal, and you'll see here that I did black and grays, and the ghosting, again, I did draw over it, but the ghosting was not 100% terrible, right? Okay, so this, on the other hand, I think the paper is a lot thinner, and I'm not sure, again, if this is just a quality change or if this is not a true Leuchtturm journal, but as you can see, the ghosting is far more significant. Another page, sneak peek into January, you can really, really see everything through. So it doesn't bother me that much. I will get over it. Again, no one else is really going to see this. Well, I guess you guys are going to see this, but as long as it works for me, it's more important for me that the journal is practical than just aesthetically pleasing. So not a huge deal, but I did want to point that out if you are ordering off Amazon. As for other materials, I used my Stradler Tri-Plus color markers in here. Like usual, I have been using these ever since I got my first bullet journal, and they're still going strong. I love these. I also used my Staedtler fine liners. The other thing I have done in this journal, which I've never done before, is I threw in a little bit of like extra zhuzh, so to speak. So I was using a few jelly pens. These are the Uniball Signo Broad, and I honestly wouldn't really recommend the white one. I really like the silver and the gold. However, I'm not a huge fan of the white. It doesn't seem to come out as smoothly, and it's definitely not a fine line. So I did use this for white lettering. Not a huge fan of it. I'm going to be looking into getting a new, possibly thinner white jelly pen for later in the year. But you know, use what you got. Something new that I used this year, and actually for most of last year too, is my fountain pen. Now this is a very, very old fountain pen. I received this in 7th or 8th grade, sometime in middle school, and unfortunately I don't know the brand for you guys because I did receive it so long ago. I went to a school called the Waldorf School where we hand wrote all of our own textbooks, and so this is actually the fountain pen I used to handwrite all my own textbooks when I was in middle school. I also have a calligraphy pen in the same brand style, but again, I don't know what the brand is to share with you guys. That's also why it's a little worse for wear. Actually, if you guys are pros at using fountain pens and you know how to unclog a tip, my calligraphy pen tip is clogged, I believe, because it does not always run smoothly at all. It actually skips quite badly. So if you guys have any fountain pen maintenance tips, please leave me a comment down below. And lastly, if you guys care, I have been using these ink cartridges. I really need to get some kind of a refillable ink cartridge situation going here because I know that this is incredibly wasteful, and I'm not proud about that, but because I really wanted to go ahead and get back into using these, this is what I was able to find on Amazon. I believe it's like $6 a box and you get 6 in here, and they last me about 2 months each. So yeah, not too bad as supply buying goes. So now let's get into the actual journal. So it's pretty simple. There's not a whole lot going on here. I have my contact information covered up. I am one of those people that does use my table of contents. I don't always remember to set up all of my kind of general spreads at the beginning of the year. Some people, again, plan out meticulously what they want, what they think they're going to want all year long. I tend to kind of come up with ideas as I go, and then when I do, if it's in the middle of a monthly spread, I like to kind of jot it down in here so that I can find it quickly. I just find that that works a lot better for me. Then in here we have title page and my key. Now, because I have been bullet journaling for about 5 years now, you might think that I don't need a key, but I have actually a couple reasons why I have put this in this year. Number one, I always like to think of my future self. So I hang on to my bullet journals, and my symbols have changed over the years. So it's nice to have a key in here so that if I go back to a journal in say like 2-3 years and I don't remember what exactly those symbols meant, I like to have the key in here so that I can refresh myself. The other reason I have a key in here this year is that I have actually changed up my symbols slightly. So I do not use kind of the official bullet journal symbols whatsoever. I never have. I just use what works for me. I've got tasks, subtasks, which typically also go indented under the task. I have events, and then this year what's really different for me is I have a YouTube and a Patreon signifier. So I am trying to get back on my YouTube game, definitely trying to get back on the Patreon game. And I used to note these in different colored task dots. Now this year I'm trying to go a little bit more monochromatic, or at least have all of my writing be in black. So wanted to get away from that, and I'm going to be trying out these symbols instead. I do often just take notes in my journal, so I have a little note indicator, and then in the kind of standard bullet journal setup, you have a little box or a circle, and you fill it in when the task is completed. That does not work for me emotionally. I really get a lot of satisfaction from crossing something off, so I cross it off if it's completed. I put a little arrow if I'm migrating it to the next day, or if it's not yet 100% completed, and then if I'm canceling a task or event altogether, I just scribble. because, you know, simplicity. Okay, so I actually did a title page this year. I don't normally do one of these, but I thought it was, you know, a nice way to kind of indicate that this bullet journal is going to be a bit different. I just did 2020, little bit of metallic designs down here, and then I didn't want to do a full like manifestation page or like I don't know, goals page like that, but I did want to do a little reminder to myself of what I want to focus on this year. So I just wrote down breathe, create, connect, because these are all things I think I did really badly in 2019. Breathe mainly indicates to me that I need to remember to take time for myself. Like I said, last year was crazy and I did a ton of work and not a lot else. So I really want to take time to breathe and to take care of the rest of my life and take care of myself. Create, because again, I did not create like anything in 2019. So I really want to make an effort to create more this year, whether it's videos, whether it's in my journal, whether it's writing, drawing, painting. There's so many things that I want to work on this year, so that's a good reminder. And then connect is because I tend to be a bit antisocial, and I always have a good time when I do hang out with my friends, so it's just a reminder to myself to connect with others around me. Okay, so this next spread, I cannot remember who I got this from. I have been watching bullet journal videos for like a week, you guys, and all of the ideas are blurring together. So I'm gonna link a few videos in the description where I know that I took several pieces of inspiration from, but unfortunately I can't remember which videos I got this exact setup from. But this, I believe, is an idea I first saw on Amanda Rach Lee, on her Instagram and on her YouTube channel. This is a grid spacing guide, and for someone who's been doing this for what, 4 or 5 years now, I wish I had known about this sooner. This is brilliant. Basically, you pre-count out, you pre-label all of your dots and then all of your dots this way so that you can avoid the need to have to like count every single dot every single time you want to divide the page. So I've done half, thirds, quarters, and it's honestly already helped me a crap ton. So this is a really good idea. Again, this is another thing that makes me think that maybe this isn't a super legit Leuchtturm, because this has 37 dots. It also has this weird gap, which it did not have last year. So again, not sure if this is legit, but we're working with it because this is what I've got. The other thing I have over here, this is like my ideal day setup, because again, like I mentioned last year, I was not good at differentiating between work time and like personal time. I kind of just worked all the time. So I wanted to kind of set up a really clear ideal day for myself so that it's a reminder when I'm feeling crazy or like I need to just work all day, that I don't, that this is actually when I'm at my most happy and healthiest, when I follow this routine. Okay, then I have my year at a glance page. Now this is where you can see I used my white this jelly roller for the first time, and you can see that at first like these are okay, and then it got really not quite so clear. So again, would like to get a new one, but I actually really like how this turned out. I didn't end up doing a title page, like a year at a glance title on here anywhere, but I think it's fairly clear and that gives me a more workable space anyways. Last year I had it so that 6 months were on this side of the page and then I had to flip to see 6 months over here. I actually much prefer that I can see it all here. Okay, then I have a couple of financial trackers, which I have modified slightly from previous years. So one tracker that I have kept, which might seem weird, but I have my gas and mileage tracker in here because every time I get gas, I write down my mileage and then record it in here. Why do I do this? Number one, because I have a leased vehicle and I only have a finite number of miles per year. And although I'm never close to that total, I find it really interesting to just kind of track my mileage and make sure that I'm, on track. I think it also is a holdover from when I was freelance and used to bill mileage. It was really helpful for taxes to like know exactly what mileage you started the year at and then what you ended at. So I think it's kind of a holdover from that. Then I have this page, which is a little different. This is my sinking funds page, and I used to have a savings goals page in my previous bullet journal, but I never ever used it because it was just such a like broad term, savings goals. So what I decided to do this year was do my sinking funds, which is a little bit more specific. Basically, the concept of sinking funds, as I understand it, is They are funds that you are saving towards for specific purchases. So I have a couple of purchases here, as you can see. I have, like I said, a wedding this year, so I want to save up for that flight. I really have not gotten to go to the new Galaxy's Edge at Star Wars, at Disneyland this year. We were going to go in December, and then everybody couldn't make it. So I really want to go this year, but because tickets are expensive and I really want to make a custom lightsaber while I'm there, I want to save up for that because the lightsaber alone is going to be like $200. Then I did not think I wanted AirPods, and then my mom got a pair for Christmas and my brother got a pair for Christmas, and they can't stop raving about them. So I would really love to buy myself a pair of Apple AirPods, excuse me. So I haven't looked up like exact pricing for all this yet, so I'm gonna break it down once I do, but here is an example of what it will look like. Yes, rent in Southern California is crazy expensive. This is the most important one in here, which is why it's on top. This is my 3-month emergency rent fund. I think it's really important, and I learned this the first year I moved out, when I vastly overestimated how much I was going to be making that year, that I have at least 3 months of rent saved. So thankfully I have to fill this in. I haven't decided if I'm using pencil or if I'm going to just hatch it in or what. But I'm actually I can almost fill this one in. So that's really exciting. And, I'm really happy about that. Okay. So then the last tracker I have in my like general setup here is my 2020 reading tracker. And this is significantly different than what I did in 2019. In 2019, I stupidly listed out all of the unread books that I owned as of January 1st, 2019. Now, maybe I thought it was a great reminder to see how many unread books I had that I needed to get through, but actually this is just intimidating as hell, and I never ever used it. As you can see, I didn't read anything that I had already owned in 2019. I just basically read new things. So what I decided to do in this year was a little different. I know for a fact that I will never read more books in a month than I have dots down this row here. So what I'm going to do is every time I have read a book is I'm going to fill in a dot and then fill in another dot. And then at the end of the month, I will just connect them all, and we'll kind of get to see a little bit of a graph set up here as the months go to see when I was reading the most, when I was reading the least. And I think that should be slightly more abstract and a little bit less terrifying, and I'm really excited about it. Okay, so those are all of my general spreads done and dusted. As you can see, there aren't that many trackers. I think that was something I definitely did wrong, or I wish I hadn't done when I first started bullet journaling. I tried to track every single thing that might possibly go through my head in my bullet journal, and just let me tell you, that's just not how my brain works, actually. I found it overwhelming. I spent a lot of time setting up trackers that I then never used, so we're keeping it relatively sparse this year, and I'm really happy with it. Again, I like that I did a little bit of designing here and there. I like that I tried out a few different styles, but it's also minimal enough that it's mainly functional. Okay, so now we are moving into January, and again, there's not a whole lot going on here, and yes, you can, oh God, this ghosting is so bad. You know, it really doesn't bother me unless I look at it through the camera. I decided to go for themes this year. Last year, I kind of did a rotating color palette, which was really fun at first because I hadn't used the color yet, and then by the end of the year I was just so incredibly bored by it that I decided this year I wanted to do actual themed months. So for January, because I'm full on hyped up about Rise of Skywalker and I have to start The Mandalorian and I've been rewatching Clone Wars, I thought what better theme to go with than a Star Wars theme. So what I opted to go for on my quote page here this month is the Jedi Code. So there's no emotion, there's peace, there's no ignorance, there's knowledge, there's no passion, there's serenity, there's no chaos, there's harmony, there's no death, there is the Force. And yes, I did sketch this all out beforehand because I was paranoid about inking it and getting it all off center or spelling knowledge wrong, because God knows I've done that before. Again, this is the whole page done and dusted, kept it relatively simple. I really like the quote, did a little Jedi symbol here. And then we flip this over into January, which is 100% different than I have ever done before. Okay, so first of all, there are doodles, you guys. This is so much fun. I honestly don't know why I've never done this in a bullet journal before. I was watching some video yesterday where they were talking about like the toxicity of the idea that you have to be productive. And I 100% agree with that. I think I really fell into that last year, the idea that I had to be doing something productive 24/7, and that doodling or making my journal feel nice wasn't productive. And I need to get away from that this year. So I really like the way this is set up. When I first started bullet journaling, you guys might remember I used to do full 2-page monthly grid calendars. And while that worked for me a lot at the time, last year I found that I didn't really use it all that much. So what I did this year was I did a really small little calendar here, which left me room to do like a little bit of decorations. And then I did a full, like, kind of like almost what you were supposed to be doing in the original bullet journal, where you did like just like a daily log space here. So if I have a appointment or something that I need to remember, I'm going to like put a little indicator. I haven't decided yet if it's just going to be a dot or something on this day, and then I will fill in the details over here. I think what I didn't end up liking last year was that I was very much cramming appointment details into these tiny little boxes. And although they were slightly larger in my 2019 journal, I just thought I would give this a try. So we'll see how this goes. This is the first time I've ever used it. So if I hate it this month, then maybe I won't do it again next month. But so far, I really like it. A couple other things on this spread. I have, instead of doing what I did last year was, hang on, let me see if I can find one for you guys. What I did last year was I did these, so I did my monthly. See, as you can tell, I went from 2 pages to 1 page last year, and now it's even smaller. But what I did last year was I did this 1-page calendar grid, and then I did these little boxes for videos, TBR, projects, or writing. And then this later in the year became big tasks that I had to accomplish during the month. Now, what I realized was, because I'm no longer freelance and I am not producing that much content, I didn't need a whole page spread for that. So what I did instead was I just put one little box here for videos. So I'm going to indicate videos for YouTube, videos for Patreon here. I'm going to be doing projects because, again, trying to create this year. Those aren't necessarily going to be projects that you guys see, but they're projects that I'm working on that I want to wrap up. Then down here, I have my big tasks because I don't need a ton of space for that. Typically, it's like 1 or 2 really big things a month, like remember to do your taxes, remember to renew your car license, stuff like that. So that's going to go down in here. The other thing I changed up this year was how I'm tracking my habits. So sorry to keep going back and forth between journals here, you guys, but to go to, here we go, to go to a 2019 spread, I was doing these like week at a glance pages where I had tasks, events, kind of a date at a glance, purchases, and then this was my habit tracker, which I really liked, again, at the beginning of the year. And then by the end of the year, I hated having to draw that out every single week so very much. It was just kind of awful. So what I decided to do this month to try it out is do one of these habit tracker pages. So what I decided to do, instead of writing out the calendar days 5 million times, is just do one of these empty grids. And I haven't decided yet if I'm going to do a dot inside them when I accomplish that goal, if I'm going to hatch it out. I'm not quite sure yet. I will figure that out when I get to that. But this is what I've decided to do instead. So I will basically track the whole month here instead of doing it week by week. And then what I've simplified my week at a glance spread down to is just this little section down here at the bottom of my first weekly page. So I have, again, my tasks, my events, and then just a quick week at a glance so that I can see the dates when I'm prepping my daily page, my daily entries. And again, trying to do a little more, so I did a little R2 to fill up that space. I actually really like the color palette for this month. I didn't really pick it. It just kind of felt very natural because I wanted to do Obi-Wan's lightsaber, basically. The palette is inspired by Obi-Wan Kenobi's lightsaber from Phantom Menace. So that is literally my most simplified week. I'm not sure if I like it down here at the bottom. Originally, I had thought to do it on the side, but we shall see once I have, again, used it a little bit. And I'm going to keep my dailies super, super simple and just do a little cursive title here, a little line to zhuzh it up just a bit, and then I will just continue doing rolling dailies, because for me, that is far superior to setting everything up day by day. The big thing I love about the bullet journal is that you don't have to fit your day into a set amount of space. So I don't understand why I would then set up all of my days, because if you're doing that, you honestly might as well just buy a preset journal, in my opinion. So I will fill this out, let you guys know what I think about it, let you know how it goes. One thing you might notice is, as I mentioned, in 2019, I had a purchases tracker in my weekly. This time I decided not to do that. What I'm going to do instead, at the end of the month, I'm going to do two things, which I have not yet set up, because again, my dailies are rolling, and so I'm not sure where my month is going to end up. So two things I wanted to add at the end of the month this year. I wanted to do kind of a monthly memories or wrap up page where I either do a bit of like collaging, sticking things in, maybe I can print some photos, or I can just doodle them. Things like songs I've been loving, maybe, you know, the kind of stuff I would talk about in a monthly roundup video here on the channel. Then the other thing I really want to do at the end of the month is a budget breakdown. Need to be on top of my finances a lot this year because I'm trying to take on those student loans. So I want to do kind of a monthly budget summary, mainly because I found out that at first the purchases box in my 2019 journal was really handy because I was very much on top of tracking my purchases. But then what I realized was that because I was tracking them in my journal and not in my big spreadsheet where I actually, you know, have formulas and calculate my totals and all that, I wasn't doing that at all. I actually didn't use my spreadsheet at all in 2019. So what I want to do instead is put all of my individual purchases in the spreadsheet and then just record the totals in my journal so that I actually have to look at them. Anywho, I have recorded for a very long time now. Thank you guys so much for watching. I guess I can flip through this one more time if you guys want to see really quick. So I hope you guys enjoyed this video. If you have any bullet journal ideas for me that you want to see, if you want me to show you guys at the end of each month once I have used it, I can do that. If you guys want me to do like a monthly setup once I have set up each month, I can do that too. I will probably never ever do like a set up my journal with me video, simply because this literally took me like a day and a half to do. So the video would have to be 5 years long, so we're not going to do that. But if you would like me to keep updating you guys month to month, I can show you my monthly themes. Let me know down in the comments below. And if you are starting your own journal this year, best of luck to you as well. All right, so that was my 2020 bullet journal, and I hope you guys enjoyed. Again, please check the description box down below, as I will link all of the videos that I used for inspiration. Shout out to my patrons for their continued support, and thank you very much for watching. I hope you're having a fantastic day, and I will see you next time. Bye.